Hi, welcome to the podcast for the Center for Teaching and Assessment of Learning at the University of Delaware. I'm Rose Moravchik, the Assistant Director at CTAL, and I'm joined today by our Director, Kathy Pusiker. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Rose.
We're going to talk to you today about our most recent First Friday Roundtable, Documenting Your Teaching for Promotion and Tenure. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, this was just a wonderful event. For the school year, we had the most people attending this First Friday Roundtable ever.
It was a party.
It was a party. We certainly celebrated teaching with our theme of Mardi Gras, and our panel was facilitated by our Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs, Matt Kinservik. Matt chipped in some money for a really awesome reception, even with king cake.
Lots of fun.
Yes, because happy Fat Tuesday today. Barry Joyce, a professor in history, joined us, along with Kristala Musa, professor from education. Olga Gorbachev was there, associate professor in economics, and Deb Jacey from plant and soil sciences. John Sawyer came over from institutional research and effectiveness to answer relevant questions to UD Academe.
It was just a really fun, exciting atmosphere to talk about documenting your teaching, and we're happy that we had that festive party atmosphere because we know that talking about documenting teaching can feel really arduous, really challenging, but we like to look at this as an opportunity to reflect on what you've accomplished and the things that you hope to change and how you hope to evolve as an instructor here at UD. So first things first, and I was really glad that our panelist Deb pointed this out, you do yourself a service if you review the department policies as well as the UD faculty handbook to really make sure you know what the expectations are for the P&T process. And Deb even brought with him his printout. He had underlined and highlighted and circled all of the critical terms and concepts in those expectations so that he really knew what he needed to accomplish in this process.
He was wonderful. And members of our audience, they were really engaging. Some told stories of their department providing mentorship of people who helped them through the process of promotion and tenure. Faculty members who will provide reviews of their teaching and teaching observation. Others suggested, ask, solicit feedback from any member, particularly in your college, who you would respect their constructive feedback. And finally, some of our members of the audience said, and I used the Center for Teaching and Assessment of Learning, and they gave me awesome feedback that I could use to improve my teaching. And you should remember that our observations of your teaching are confidential, so you may use them as part of your promotion dossier or just use them for improvement. One of our members of the panel talked about the students' ratings of teaching and how do we handle those in the dossier.
That's another dun-dun-dun sound. Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun. Basically, accurately and persuasively, that you don't want to leave anything out because people will go thinking you have something to hide.
Right. You can't really omit including all those details, but at the same time, you want to try and present to the reader of this dossier something that makes sense and is a coherent argument. So include all the data, but also consider using some kind of visual and graphic representations. We heard a couple of panelists say that they found ways to demonstrate change over time by putting their ratings into a graph form or chart form and show that over the course of teaching, one particular class, they made improvements and this is how their ratings went up over time. The other thing that was really useful was to think about including a comparison group along with your data so that the reader of this dossier can see how your course and the student experience of your course matches up with other kinds of similar courses. And this was something we got some very interesting comments from our attendees about other kinds of comparisons, right, Kathy?
Well, the comparison groups could be that you want to make sure that if you're teaching research methodology, and this is mandatory for all of your majors, and it's a course with great rigor and maybe not as popular as the elective course, you might want to compare your course to others at that same level that are mandatory courses. that would provide a more accurate picture of where you are compared to your colleagues.
Not every class in your department is the same in terms of the students who take it, and because the students are the ones writing those ratings, you want to find as much comparable data as you really can. So in some cases, the chair of your department will have some of that information, and in others, you will have to be a little bit of your own advocate and go seek it out. But that's why this process is something that we hope you engage in over the course of your career and not just a couple months before the deadline. Another important part of this process in reflecting on all of these data points and how they come together is writing a really meaningful statement of teaching that's positive, that keeps a persuasive, positive tone. You're trying to write something that a lot of very smart people can be persuaded by, but maybe very smart people not within your specific disciplinary teaching area. And this is where you need to try and consider all the ways you could sway your audience into seeing just how impressive and excellent your teaching record is.
So when you are challenged here by writing for this wide readership, and they might not be anywhere close to your disciplinary area, it's great to paint a picture, providing them with really authentic, concrete examples. So for example, if you say, I provide my students with a lot of feedback, and I really have a very student-centered model, you might want to provide examples of that feedback. If you say, I provide clear instructions for my students so that they have an understanding of my expectations, including an example of the rubric that you provided for an assignment might be a concrete example where the reader goes, oh, well, now this makes sense.
It's sort of a case of showing your work. It's very easy to craft a positive statement about your teaching. I create an engaged classroom, but you really need to show your reader what that looks like because they aren't there. They aren't there with your students.
Exactly. So like all of our roundtables, we did our live tweet, and you can follow us at UD_CTAL on Twitter to see how your colleagues react to our events.
And we do hope you'll come to our next event. And we also hope that you'll take advantage of CTAL services in this area. As Kathy said, several of our colleagues pointed out that we do peer observation, we do observation of your teaching, but we also help you work on things like your statement of teaching and putting together all of these disparate elements into a dossier. So we are here to help you at any point in this process. And our next roundtable, which is coming up on Friday, March 2nd, will be on the topic of making grading easier in your classes.
Please join us.
We look forward to seeing you.